Go live next. Yeah. Share on your timeline. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Are we live? Maybe live already. Oh, preparing live stream preview. As soon as we go there. Okay. Everybody's ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let me start the tape. We are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Grant Cameron, and I'm doing another panel on UFOs and art. I previously had done a book on UFOs and music, and then realized that art was probably part of it as well. So we posted, Nicole Sackage, my assistant, and I posted a Facebook message, and we got sort of inundated with UFO experiencers who do art. There definitely is a connection. We have 3 artists today joining us. Stacy McArdle is one. How you doing, Stacy?
Nice to see you. Great, thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks for being on. You're going to do some orb art, and you've actually let me use some of it. My next artist is Ron Johnson, who I've actually interviewed a number of times. Ron, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Super. Maybe get a little closer to the mic. And how's your health these days? You had a serious heart situation 2 years ago. You seem to be doing pretty well. You've beat the odds.
I feel good, but I've had 2 heart attacks. The last time I went to my cardiologist in Salt Lake City, they told me my heart's getting worse, but I actually feel okay. It has the ejection fraction ratio.
Oh, you've lost your sound.
12%.
Yeah, maybe try your sound. Your sound is sort of breaking up, but.
Oh, hang on. How about that?
So far, yeah, sort of good. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. We'll you're second up, so we'll get back to you. My third artist is Marie Cisneros, who was one of the people that contacted. I didn't know who she was, and when we get to the PowerPoint, I will get her to describe her UFO. She was with MUFON in Michigan for, I think, 10 years as a field investigator, but we'll get her story. I really don't know her story. And she will be joining us. So these are 3 artists today. There's a couple artists that had other situations come up. So this is panel number 2. We're probably going to do panel number 3. I just did an interview this morning with Great Britain on an artist there with a lot of messages coming through. So I want to welcome my artists. Marie, can you hear us? Are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm having some problems with my my camera for some reason.
Yeah, down at the bottom thing, there should be a little X through the, if you click on that little thing, it should turn your camera on.
Yeah, it's not doing that.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, we got your voice, so that's good.
Oh, yeah. Okay, good.
And we've got your painting of yourself, so people will know who you are.
Oh, okay. Well, that was a few years ago.
Okay, and the other people that are joining me are my assistant, Nicole Sackage. How you doing, Nicole?
I'm doing well today, Grant. Glad to be here with everybody.
Beautiful. And you're in the state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln?
Yes, I am.
Is it possibly true that you're the great granddaughter of Abraham Lincoln?
No, not possible.
Well,
but
no, okay. Well, we can always pretend.
He's with us in spirit throughout Illinois, though. Like, there's always the rumors, like supposedly there's a well that when he was traveling through the area, he would stop at this well and, be Lincoln. So his folklore is throughout the state, great granddaughter or not. So
and how's the inventor?
He's good. He's good. He's got a few lined up and ready to take pictures of. So
Well, yeah, we need the interview with him. We need to get him because I think your kid is more entertaining than a cat video. So we need to have him go with his stuff. So let's do that. My other assistant helping me today is Chase Williams, who I've known for a couple of years. He sort of stayed in the background. He's sort of coming forward now. How you doing, Chase?
Oh, great, Grant. Really glad to be here with you and Nicole and the rest of the panel. Glad everybody's here. Really excited.
And you've got your collection of experiencer art in behind you there?
I do. It's a little hobby of mine.
Yeah. So we've got some new people here. You'll see some new art today that you may want to tune into. We did maybe do a little plug. We did a podcast the other day where I was sort of into the catnip, and I went on for 4 hours, and until Jeff cut me off and said, "Shut up, you're talking too much." So what's your podcast? You have a new podcast, you and Jeff?
That's right. Yeah. So Jeff and I have Strange Recon podcast. I think we're inclusive of your interview as well as one with Danny Silva. I think we're only 5 or 6 episodes in. But we're on YouTube and we're on all the other, audio streaming platforms, iTunes and all that stuff. So we talk about how much we love Grant Cameron's work and consciousness and UFOs and ghost experiences and all that stuff. We're really focused on our personal experiences and just trying to figure out what everything is, just like everybody else. So yeah, appreciate that, Grant.
It was a good experience. So people can go and listen to that. It was a long session. We go through everything. So you want to hear all that.
Marie, don't feel bad. The first, Grant, we were on for about 4 hours. It was a long time. And Marie, for the first half of that, Grant didn't realize his camera wasn't on. So, don't feel bad. It happens.
I use it every week for an astrology thing I do. And they set me up with a Nexi Pro, a professional camera. So this is the first time I've had any problems with it. So yeah, I keep clicking and it's like, it's not doing anything. So I don't know what's going on with it.
Well,
it's great. Halfway through that, Grant said, "Do you guys mind if I take 30 seconds?" And I thought, my God, we've been on the phone for 4 hours, Grant. 30 seconds. Yeah. It
was the thing is, I had put my name because we have a joint account with Sinead, and I had actually put my name down as Barack Obama. Because you have to change your name. And then he said, okay, I'll take over the screen now, and we'll go to the art, and Chase and Nicole, you can jump in with questions here. Share screen. Share. Okay. Hang on. Come on. Okay, so people can see the screen?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so our first artist is Stacy, and when did we first meet Stacy? We were at a conference.
Yes, when I was working through Paula at the Laughlin conference.
That's what I figured.
Yeah, that was our first physical meeting.
And give me a little bit about your UFO background in terms of your experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I will say when I was very young, I remember being in my crib, and whatever age you'd be standing in your crib, maybe 1 year old, and seeing orbs and feeling like I was being watched over. At a young age, I always attributed it to being departed humans. But now looking back, I think a lot of them were actually other types of beings. And when I was 10 years old in Crivets, Wisconsin, my mom and I saw a UFO. It was a saucer shape and it was zigzagging in the sky, and it just didn't make any sense the way it was moving. And other cars pulled over and we're all pointing up there. Do you see that? You know, it was a really incredible sighting. And it was at that time that my mom told me that about 2 years before I was born, in the same city, or it's really not a city, it's a very small town, that her and my grandmother and her aunt and a friend were driving home at night, and in a field they saw a UFO, colored lights moving around in a circle in a field, and they lost track of time. So and I have other relatives that saw UFOs before I was born. It seems to be something that my family experienced. I was always very sensitive, always able to see energies. I didn't really know, it came naturally, that I didn't realize until a much older age how unusual it was. I was always the weird person in high school, and I mean, just people never really understood me. And I didn't really understand myself until, God, maybe until I hit 40. I'm 50 now. And a lot has come with years of research and so forth and experiences. I now realize what I'm dealing with. Just a few years ago, I was in Sedona, Arizona with my parents, and I was reading a book on the vortexes zones in Sedona. Yeah. And all of a sudden I heard in my head, look up, there's a UFO. So I put my book down, I looked up, and there was a cloud shaped like a UFO. And I realized that it was a cloud, but I feel like this cloaking technology is a real thing. And I also felt like I was getting some sort of a download. I don't quite know how to explain it, except that I feel like more senses are opening up, more compassion for humanity, more understanding. It almost seemed kind of immediate. I also had an incredible experience that a lot of people just think I'm nuts. It was so amazing that it's helped me with my art. But in 2017, in the back of my house, I'm looking at it right now, I've got a park behind my house. And my friend and I were literally in the basement of my house talking about the latest Cosmic Disclosure episode. And right as I said it, I looked out my patio doors, and it was about 5:30 or so. And so it was still light out, but it wasn't dark. And I saw this big glow in the sky, and I knew it wasn't the sun. I could see where the sun was setting. And I got up out of my chair and opened the door and went out there, and I saw out of this bright light, this rectangular craft come out at an angle and then level out. And then that light disappeared like it didn't exist. Before it came out, I saw just for a moment a different sky. I saw a light sky with clouds. So I figure I saw a craft come out of a portal, right? So this craft leveled out, and then it came down into the center of the park, like a 1.5 average tree levels up. It was very low. And it just hovered in the middle of the park. And I'm looking around the park thinking, where are all the people? Why am I seeing this? This is in a very residential area. The whole park is surrounded by houses. And then there's 2 major roads outside of that. But I didn't see anybody, nobody in the park, no one walking a dog or anything. And this craft hovered, and it was rectangular and very thin, and it had 3 even lights, spaced lights in the front, and the white light in the center was on, and it went off. And I knew immediately that was also like a viewing window. And I had this thought that they were letting me know they were seeing me too, that I wasn't just seeing it. And then it started to move really slowly towards us. And as it got to my house, I mean, it was just right over my roof. I could see underneath the craft, and this thing was huge. It was like something out of Star Trek. It looked like the size of a football field, like a high school football field. And I could see panels underneath it. And I thought to myself, well, this must be our military, because advanced technology would surely have seamless construction. And something talked back to me, intuitively, and it said, it's easier to get to things when, it wasn't words, it was an idea. It's easier to get to things when something goes wrong, if you have panels. I thought, okay. And my friend by this point is standing there with me, and we're just looking at on. We weren't scared or anything, but we couldn't move. And the craft went over my house, and we just went back inside and started talking about what we were going to do for dinner. And then we just stared at each other for about 45 minutes without speaking. And I realized we were in some sort of stun mode. Again, it was totally open to this experience. I feel like they did something to us, or the event did something to us. But afterwards, we went on with our normal lives like nothing happened. And then she came over 2 weeks later. We were sitting on the porch. She smokes, and we just looked at each other and said, "Oh my God, the UFO." So what happened here was, even though I had been a ghost researcher in the 90s and 2000s, it was a thing I did, and I knew the importance of gathering data. I didn't do any of that. The investigator in me normally would have run upstairs, gotten my phone that was charging in the kitchen, ran out the door, followed it in my car, taken a picture, drawn what I saw, wrote all the details down. I didn't do any of that. But I think they've been visiting. I think they've been visiting probably everybody, but I've been witness to it my whole life. And now I feel like they're in my house and helping me with things. It's all very positive. I recently found out I have diabetes, and I'm taking control of that. But one night I looked up because I felt a pain in my heel, and I saw an alien giving me a shot in the heel of my foot. So I feel like it's all, again, very positive. But what I do is I meditate normally before I paint, and I get into a very Zen mode, and then I just paint without thinking about what I'm painting. I just let it come through. It's kind of a hard thing to do, to not say, well, I want pink, I want red, or I don't want to put these colors together. I just do what comes to me without questioning it. And it ends up being a lot of things I see visually, or in dreams, or in meditation.
Beautiful. So you've done some orb stuff. You actually allowed me to use one of your paintings here for one of the orb panels that we did. And you've sold most of your orb stuff.
I did.
You've done a lot. We're going to show some of but they're photographs from the past. So Chase can't buy these. They're already been sold. And so why the orb thing? Was it just you were moved to do it? And how long have you been doing art? Your whole life?
I was very artistic when I was younger, but I would say after I after I graduated high school, I did a little bit in my college years, but then just normal life got in the way. And I didn't start up until after my divorce in 2010. I just all of a sudden started finding myself again. Okay. And all this stuff started flowing out of me. Throughout that whole time, I was experiencing orbs, seeing them all the time, and feeling like they weren't just orbs. I knew they were energies that were guiding me and watching over me and communicating with me. They've been there my whole life. So it's something that I love painting. I'm always happy when I've painted orbs.
And you do commissions, right? You do commissions for people?
I do. And I'm just starting to paint more too, eventually, that I'll sell. But the ones that I've done since 2010, I've either sold or held for myself, because they mean a lot to me, because I found myself again. But I'm just starting to paint again a lot more.
Beautiful. We're going to link up all the artists. We maybe Nicole, we can set up a Facebook UFO art Facebook page where we can provide the links for all these people to put them all together, because there are quite a few. What is this photograph here? Is this because we're getting into your art in a minute, but I pulled this for some reason. You gave it to me.
Yeah. So I see a face in it. Half the people I show don't see a face in it. I clearly see a face in it. I don't know who it is, but I took it in my meditation room. I have a meditation room with singing bowls. And quite often when I use the singing bowls and ring a bell to clear energy, afterwards, when I take pictures, I get a lot of orb activity. And this is with, no windows open or a heater running. It's like, I feel like these aren't just dust particles a lot of the time. And this is one that has a lot of dimension in it. And, a dust particle is usually just a spot. Yeah. But when you look at energy that's in orbs, there's going to be, spiral shapes and all sorts of geometric things, or, there's going to be depth to it. And in this case, I see a face.
And what do you see the face as, a dead person or an alien or just a face?
Well, I see a face, but my instinct tells me it's some sort of a humanoid, some sort of human alien. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's a positive
this is intuition. Yeah. A lot of this is intuition where it's not like there's, as I explained, it's not like somebody's holding up a sign. It's you feel it and it sort of resonates and you know that's what it is.
Yeah. That was just that my friend took a picture of this orb that was moving around again in my meditation room, and it landed on my forehead. And the thing about this is, to me, you know how sometimes when you take a picture near the sun, you get that blue dot. This we saw moving around the room, and it landed right near my third eye. I just thought it was interesting. I don't know. I don't think that looks like a dust particle.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool photo.
Yeah. This is fun. So this story is from November 1997. I live in Illinois, and this was in Crystal Lake, Illinois. And a group of us ghost researchers went there back in the day when you couldn't get into buildings and you had to go to cemeteries. Anyway, as soon as we're walking across the street to go to the cemetery, and as soon as we got there, where I took this picture, we saw an orb moving throughout the cemetery, just kind of weaving around. And we were trying to look for a light source. We didn't see someone walking around with a flashlight or anything like that. It was apparent eventually that it was an orb. And then it got to the top of this fence and started to hover. And I was using Fuji 800 speed film. And I took a picture. I took 3 pictures. The first picture, nothing was in it, which was odd. The second picture was this. And the third picture was just a little streak. And it looks to me like a human being kind of squatting on that top railing. But the reason I sent it to you is because it looked like an orb when we first saw it. And then it hovered over the fence. And when I took this, it looks like a human. So my thinking is it's coming out of the orb shape. It's forming into something else.
Yeah. And we've had that described by, if you followed Yossi Ronan, an experiencer out of Illinois, Israel, we just did his book. He talks about the beings going in, becoming translucent, turning into this little orb, and then the orb disappears. So yeah, that's quite common. I see Marie's got her camera going now. Good to see you.
Yeah.
So you do like Chase, you collect experiencer art. So let's go through these.
Yeah, so this is an experiencer that painted this for me. I don't know that he's embracing it. He's very open to stuff. He doesn't really talk about it, but he created this. I just think he must be, because this is just unbelievable to me.
This is unreal.
I asked him to paint. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Stacy, go ahead. I was just going to say, I just saw this somewhere, and I don't know if it was
Facebook.
I don't think it was. Maybe it was Facebook. Yeah. Okay. All right. I just had a really bizarre experience last night, so I immediately thought it was part of that, but maybe not.
Oh.
Okay.
And it's in your collection, correct, Stacy?
Yes,
You've got this on your wall.
Yeah, my friend from high school is an artist in California, and I commissioned him to paint this.
Wow. And
this is what he came up for me. I asked him to paint what he felt relevant for me. I said, I liked crystals, but he came up with that, and I thought, wow. I feel like he tapped into something, that's all.
Beautiful.
This is an experiencer's art that I bought on eBay. They had a little story that they've seen UFOs, and I don't remember the whole story, but I just loved it. I'm not sure exactly what I'm looking at, but it's beautiful. This is a girl in, I think she's in Lake in the Hills, Illinois. She's somewhere around, she sells out of Evolve in Crystal Lake, or she used to. She's an experiencer who I think is also an empath, and she paints just the most beautiful paintings you can imagine.
Wow. Fascinating. Illinois seems to have a connection here. There's lots of Illinois people.
She keeps naming places that I've worked.
Did you work at Enlightened Balance?
No. But Crystal Lake and Lake in the Hills. I worked at restaurants in both of those places. And I will say Crystal Lake does have a feeling about it, the entire area.
Yep. It sure does. This is another experiences art I bought. Forget where I bought it. It probably Enlightened Balance or Evolve in Crystal Lake, maybe online. I can't remember. But I only collect other experiencers art, and that's all I have right now. I wish I had. Well, I have a couple more. I think you're going to show, but I don't know the backstory. I wish I did.
Wow.
That all I know, I bought that at Evolve. That I don't know the artist, but that was a meditation vision from the paperwork I got with it.
Wow. So that's what we maybe have tapped into, is that I didn't realize there was that much experience or art around, or that people collected this stuff. And I a couple hundred years from now, when it all becomes known what's going on, I think this is going to be very, very valuable stuff where these people were the first to tap into this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's also
yours.
one.
Go ahead.
I think that's one reason why I started painting too, was not just for the creative outlet, but I thought I can't afford or touch half of this art, you know, $800 here and there, you know, you can't. So I thought I'll just paint my own. This was one of my first ones. It was like my 5th or 6th painting, and I just love this painting. What the heck was that called? I think it was called Family Portrait from 2000. I've got my note here, 2012 or something like that. And it was, I sensed, I went into meditation mode. And when I came out, I just painted without even thinking about what I was painting, whatever. I didn't even think about the colors or how I was mixing it. This is in oils. And I'm not I think you could tell, I'm not a trained artist at all. I just did it. And I was really surprised afterwards that it was actually something that was pretty. It looked like something. And I intuitively felt like that was my soul group, not necessarily all, you know, humans that have departed that I know. I feel like there's a lot of beings that are in your life that you might not know from this lifetime, but are there guiding you. And that's what I felt like I was painting there.
Yeah, the color is just spectacular. Go ahead, Chase, go ahead.
Stacy, I'm just curious, do the colors of the orbs here in this painting mean anything specifically to you?
I think they do.
Okay.
I do think they do. And I haven't, you know, I always have a hard time with intuition because I'm always afraid to say, because I'm afraid I'm influencing, putting my own spin on things. But I got the feeling that it has something to do with the vibration, the energy, the personality, a lot of factors. I will say that I thought after I painted this that I was dealing with lots of different types of beings. So, you know, whether this one's from this planet and this one's a humanoid and this one's a Bigfoot, I don't know. I felt it was like that kind of differences. So I feel like there is some relevance to the difference in color. I just don't know the meaning, but I did feel like overall it was all positive.
Thanks for that, Stacy.
Sure. Again, just some random painting I did after meditation of orbs, mixing in with energy, just in the atmosphere. I didn't really get a big feeling about specifics on who these represent, but I felt like I was definitely painting energies.
I'll give you a little background on this. I just realized this as you showed it. Like if you take a look at your previous one here, you got the small little orbs. And then Desta and I were at a farm. We were doing some orb photographing with Janet Dorian and Miles, who own the farm. And she has all the books. So we were looking at the books. And you know, there's been some orb books back 2007, 2008 that were written, and they talked about these giant reds. And we were filming, and then suddenly Desta got one on the film. And the orbs are these, they call them giant reds. And so it's kind of, I just realized, like, you got one of these giant reds. I think Desta will love to see this because it is in the books. If you look at the orb books, it's very, very rare, but they have these giant red ones, and here you have this giant red one.
Well, I have seen red orbs in the woods.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. But they call them these giant reds. Like Desta was getting the reds. yeah, you'll see them in these books. The guy wrote, was from Stanford, I think, wrote a book on orbs, and
Okay.
he categorizes them all, and they're in these categories. But again, most people don't have those books. That there's been a lot of research done on this, and not many people have sort of put it together. But that's what I
Do you know who
found
wrote that book? With the categories?
What's that?
With the categories, do you know who wrote that book? With them categorized?
It's the name is escaping me, but there's two guys. One was a head of a university, and the other guy was a professor at Stanford. But it's the original one that was around. It was pretty popular back then. I think if you just look 2007, 2008 orb book, and it'll pop up. And they categorize all these different orbs, what the colors mean and stuff like that. Which I think they had 250,000 photographs they were working from. So, and then they sort of disappeared off the face of the earth because, you know, it's a pretty tough area to research. And so I was at this farm and they had the book there, but it's weird that you would get this giant red orb. So what's this one here?
Okay, so this is interesting. Long story short, for many, many years, I kept dreaming about this vision, this picture. It looked just like that. I mean, it just over and over again. And I thought, what is this? What am I dreaming about? And then eventually it got to the point where it's all I could dream about. And I thought, I have to do something with this. I felt like if I don't paint it, it's never going to go away. So I painted it and I never had that dream again. But what I got the feeling of is that orb is some sort of portal to other dimensions and what's going on. And these are deceased people and there are different levels. And the level at the left is coming back for reincarnation on Earth. And the level on the bottom right is coming back, they're leveling. I don't know if they're coming back to Earth, but I knew they were leveling. And the very top level was never coming back to Earth because they leveled so much. This was a last instance here. So it was like and the vision was like this escalator. They were moving very gracefully into the light.
Wow. And once again, you have this unbelievable color in your paintings.
Thank you. Just more, after a meditation, more orb energy. I love the colors in this one.
Yeah.
It feels like a big hug to me. I don't know who the energies represent, but a lot of times when I go into meditation mode, or have a dream where I feel like I was actually experiencing something, I'm in these places. It almost is like I'm in space with all these beautiful shapes and colors and like mist. It almost looks like a lot of space pictures in some ways.
Wow. Once again, I'll get Desta to send you a photo. She has a photo that looks almost like this with the red, an orb photo where it sort of all blends into red. And it almost looks like on the photograph, it actually looks like light is coming in the side of the camera or something, you know, like that kind of thing. I'll get her to send. She'll be kind of excited to see this because she's got a few photographs that look like this.
I would love to see that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is beautiful. What is this?
Well, it's an orb, but I feel like I go back and forth on what orbs are. And I think before I explain this, I have to say that, you know, I feel like orbs can contain one spirit. It can contain a whole group of aliens. It could be Bigfoot. I feel like it could be anything from elementals and any type of being, any energy. And I feel like it's a soul vehicle of some sort. Like, I don't know whether it's consciousness. All you have to do is an energy to say, I need to travel, and it happens, and you know, are all of a sudden in a sphere shape. I don't know. But this to me, after I was done painting, it felt like an orb that was turning into a portal. I was getting the orb, but I was getting the inner workings of the orb, which was a tunnel behind the orb. So it was like the orb was opening. And sometimes I have this in my bedroom and I just stare at it trying to get in there.
Oh, so you haven't sold this one yet?
Huh?
You haven't sold this one yet?
Nope. I'm
this
keeping
is one of your, that's a beauty. Let me ask you a question on this. like, how long does it take to do these? And when you start the canvas, do you know what's going to be on there, or are you
No.
painting inspiration? It just comes, it appears on there. And
Yeah. So the only decision I have to make is pick out a canvas and, you know, and decide if I'm doing acrylics, watercolor, or oils. I love oils, but now that I have a cat, I feel like it's not safe, you know, for him to smell the turpentine. And I feel like he's into everything and he'll ruin my painting. So it takes forever to dry. So I used to do oils, which I prefer, but now I'm doing acrylics. So I get my canvas there, my easel ready. I get my water and my paintbrushes, and I just meditate. And then when I'm done meditating, I come over to that area and I've got my stuff there, but I just instinctively pull things and color. When I'm painting, I'm not even looking at the canvas because I don't want to screw up anything. Because believe me, every time I actually look at the canvas and try to control what's going on, it looks like a child did something. It still sometimes looks like some of what you're looking at looks like a child did something, but it's better than I could create if I was intentionally doing something.
I really like this one. It's fascinating.
This is really cool because, gosh, I wish I could grab, maybe I can grab this after you're done with me and show you later. I painted this and you can see the faces. One's an alien at the bottom and one's a woman with another being there. And the other one's kind of a blank slate back there. Because visually, not just in dreams, but visually, sometimes when I see orbs, I do see faces in them visually, not just intuitively. It's more rare, but I don't know who those beings are. I don't feel like I do, but I feel like they know me.
Wow.
I feel like they're in my life, but I don't know exactly who they are. But there's a book about Mothman photographs or something like that. There's like 3 books about Mothman photographs.
Okay.
And there's one, I don't know if there was a sighting at this church on the East Coast or something, but there's one picture in there of a church with a stained glass window. And I'm telling you, that whole background looks exactly like it. And I'm big into Mothman. I'm like just fascinated with that whole subject. So I painted that before I saw that book, and I thought that's interesting. I don't know if there's any correlation, but
fascinating.
This is a woodland dancing woodland moon, I think I called it. Because often when I go to the North Woods of Wisconsin, where my family has a cabin in Manitowish Waters, I see orbs in the woods. And when I do CE5, you know, we often see craft, we think it's craft, spheres in the sky, and then we end up seeing them on the ground too. And that's an orb in the woods. And I feel, just instinctively, I feel like that's representative of a craft with many beings in it. And I feel like if you go into that particular one, it's so much more expansive than the orb there. You walk in and all of a sudden there's just like miles of rooms, you know, and people.
Yeah, Ron will describe this, where it's bigger on the inside than it is on the outside once you get in. Yeah, Ron will describe that. His favorite story he'll be telling in a minute here. This is fascinating. The color of your thing is, all your colors are so, I don't know, very beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, we've done this one, right? Yeah, this is the same one. This one here.
So this one means a lot to me. I actually sold this and I wish I hadn't. This is Kindred Spirits. Who I will swear until my death, the love of my life, I met when I was a young girl. And he died at a very young age, but we got separated. My parents moved and it was pre-Facebook and I didn't get to keep touch. And I had been thinking about him a lot, and I meditated and I painted this, and I feel like both of the red orbs are me and him. I just feel like, even though I know that my color is purple and he's blue, I feel like for some reason this represents us.
You're purple. Can you explain that? Can you explain the purple thing? Because you know the Michael Newton thing, right?
Well, I know who Michael Newton is, but I'm not sure what he means by purple.
Well, the level of souls, like you have the purple is highest, then blue, then sort of yellow, then white as you go down the scale. So you mentioned, how do you know you're purple? Or
Well,
how do you
I've
get that
had,
sense?
well, a few things. I've actually seen purple radiate off of me.
Wow.
I've been, for example, let's say I'm quickly using the washroom in the dark. I'm in a
Wow.
dark room.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's something about bathrooms, and I don't want to get into that too much, but when you're in that relaxed state and you're not bombarded with stuff like the TV and radio and all that,
Yeah.
I start seeing sparkles and movement and orbs in the bathroom a lot. And I think
Wow.
it's because of your state of mind. You're not so focused on other stuff. But I've actually seen purple coming off of me, and I've seen blue when I feel him near me, coming
Okay.
near me. And I've had aura photos taken where I have a lot of purple and white.
Wow.
Although sadly, a couple of people I went to early on who saw the purple and white told me that meant I was close to death. And I learned since that's not true. But anyway, yeah, I just always have liked purple, and I feel like it sums me up. I just feel like that is me. I just have a knowing that I have a lot of purple.
You have to make sure you read Susie Hansen's book out of New Zealand. She talks
Okay.
about the encounter. She's purple, her son is blue, which is basically the same thing that you're talking here.
Susie Hansen. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And when I met her in the elevator, I said, "I knew you were purple. I knew you were purple." It's like, it's kind of. And this, did we do this one? Or we got this double?
We did.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did this one.
Yeah. For some reason, I don't like this painting, even though I appreciate it. I always attribute a circus to it, and I don't know why. I haven't figured this out. Every time I look at this painting, I think of a circus. And I don't know the meaning behind it, but every time I see it, it could be years, I think of a circus.
Wow.
Maybe that's because there's just a lot of weird energies there.
Yeah, it's sort of like melding of everything. Yeah, I've
Maybe it's
described
a
it.
little chaotic for me, maybe.
Yeah,
But I appreciate it. It
I've
doesn't feel
described
great.
I've described the whole game as a circus anyway. It's sort of yeah, you've got it all mixed together. Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it.
Thank you. This was, I think this was the first painting I did in 2010 when I hadn't painted for years and years. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I was trying hard to just paint and not have any agenda. I was getting a lot of different things coming at me. This I didn't meditate for. I just sat down and I had all these images coming at me, and there were so many energies crowded into a space. And the thing about this painting is when I was painting it and thinking of my image in my mind, other images would come, like I don't know how to explain this. It was like there was an image behind an image behind an image behind an image. And I was trying to create that depth, but I couldn't figure out how to do that because I don't have those artistic skills. But there were so many levels of color and different energy shapes moving around, and stars. It was as if the galaxy was down on the ground right in my house, in front of me, my mind. So you've got orbs and you've got ribbons of energy. That's another thing, is ribbon energy. Like cloud, misty formations of energy, which are clusters of a lot of beings, I think, all at once.
Wow. And the orbs almost look like they're alive, like they're sort of resemble to me like cells. Like
Yeah.
they're in movement and they're alive.
Yep. Yes.
Wow. Just beautiful.
Thank you.
And this is the last one. You gave me this. What is this?
Well, that's just a picture. That's a close-up of an orb from my iPhone. It's, it's not anything particular, except I thought the color was so beautiful. And this was taken at night. And it was taken in the woods. It's hard because the resolution isn't very good. But at the far left, I feel like I see just a part of a face. But I was just trying to show you what some orbs look like when you zoom into them, that they have, you might not be able to make out what's going on, but they're not, rain is just a clear spot, but energy orbs have so much going on inside.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay, so that's it for yours. Have you got a website, or that you would, maybe you can put it in the chat box for Nicole to pick out? You're on Facebook,
Sure.
I know that. And
Yes, I can put it in the chat.
And do you have stuff for sale?
Not right now, but I will. And I'll
Okay.
be listing it as I do on that page. I used to be in a couple of, crystal shops, and I'm not anymore. I'll just sell on my website.
Okay, so your website is, you're going to put it in the chat room. Give it for
Yeah.
people. Was it Stacy McArdle?
It's a
.com?
blog. It's like meditation and experiences or something. I forget what it is. I don't have an actual
Okay.
paid URL, so I'll just put it in the chat.
Beautiful.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Thanks for showing this. Beautiful. We had two other orb people, but you stole the show with this. I love the orb photographs. They're beautiful. And thank you for allowing me to use them when I do my orb as background for the orbs, all the people from around the world that are photographing orbs.
Thank you for appreciating it, because not many really do. So thank you for giving me the time to show it off.
Wow. What do you think, Chase?
I love your work, Stacy, and I have to say, I absolutely do, and my the co-host Jeff Kingsbury, he's messaging me because he wants to watch this, and I can't figure out what the link is, but I shot him a screenshot of the painting that has the orbs or the bubbles with the faces in them, the last one that was shown, with the very clear faces, and he had an experience in which he saw bubbles or orbs just like that with faces in each one of them. He said they came in 2s and 3s, and when he saw that screenshot, he got really excited because it was almost exactly what the same type of thing that he saw. And that's the kind of stuff that really gets me going. I don't have any doubt that, as so many others do in the world, that this stuff is real or not. I know it's real, but when you see or hear someone describe something very similar to an experience that you've had, that's so great. So yeah, I love what you got.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, Stacy. Ron Johnson, you're up. Ron Johnson, I say, has one of the 10 best UFO contact stories I've ever heard. He's working on a book. He's journaled all this stuff. Can you take maybe 5 minutes to try to sort of outline your story of contact from whenever it started in the 60s, and then we'll get to your art. But you do have one of the better stories there is in terms of contact with Elbi, right?
Elbi is the main contact I've had. Believe me, this has been a lifelong ordeal.
Hey, we're having trouble with your sound again. We're having trouble with your sound.
How about now?
It's still, you're sort of in the background. Maybe, can you try it without the headset? Maybe if from the computer speaker? Try.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're good. Now you're good.
Okay, it must be these new headphones I bought.
Yeah. Okay, you're sounding really good now. So take 5 minutes and describe your story of contact with Elbi, and then we'll get to your art. Your art is not, you have some UFO art, but yours is more cartoon art, which I think they told you wasn't art, right? Someone told you that doesn't count as art.
Yeah,
okay. So tell your story.
It all actually started, with me at a very young age, but I've mainly in all the interviews I've done over the years, I've always started right around 1968. And oh boy, this is tough to begin. There's so many starting places for me. But Elbi come around. He's the main character that I've encountered. And it was right around it was in 2008. It was after I had an industrial accident and had been in the hospital. I started meditating about getting some help for my back. And when I finally give up meditating, figured nobody was going to help me. Then I started having contact with this entity. And at the time, I didn't know who he was. But after many contacts with him, he would start showing me symbols, making me watch these symbols. And then it got into where he actually did a healing on my back and probably fixed about 90% of it. And this
And you,
went
yeah,
Pardon
no,
me?
so yeah, and you had an early experience with a portal where it was a different being. This is in the 1960s where they come through the wall.
Yes, that was back in 1975,
Okay.
and it was in Price, Utah, where I lived at the time. And one night I went to bed, and as soon as I got into bed, I became paralyzed. I couldn't move. I'd been having a lot of sleep paralysis at the time. And it was weird. Immediately, it was like I finally could move. And I can remember I got out of bed, but yet I'm standing there, and I'm standing right in the middle of my bed, and I'm looking at me laying in bed. And this was really starting to freak me out. I actually thought I had died. And I'm just sitting here, God, please, please help me, what's going on? And all of this bright light, amber light, started filtering through the bedroom window. And it was weird. It was like the one wall, it's like it opened up. It was like a portal to a cave or a mine. It was really, really weird. But it opened up, and it was like I was looking into another dimension, another reality. And there were these little, at the time, I did not know what they were, but now they were grays. There was like 6, 7 of them in there. And some of them had come through this portal into my bedroom. And one of them was holding what looked like a giant salamander in his hand. And it was like he was showing it to me. And then after a while, they all departed and went back through the portal. And then it closed up. And then real violently, it was like hitting the ground, falling off of a fence or something. It was real violent. I went back into my body and actually fell out of bed.
Now, a lot of your experiences are sort of like out of body experiences where you've had what, 3 dozen out of body experience things where they take you on trips and stuff.
Right. Yeah. After I started having encounters with Elbi, I started having these OBEs, these out of body experiences, and I would, and it would always start out with me, I'd come home from work or I'd be doing something, and I'm not only physically tired, but I'm mentally tired.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I just flop down on the couch, and then I'd put on, a music tape, and then this would happen. I would find myself raising out of my body, and then I'd be up by the ceiling looking at myself laying on the couch. And after a while, then a lot of times somebody would be there. I wouldn't be able to see him, but he would be talking to me telepathically. And a lot of times Elbi, this entity that I've been having encounters with, he would be there, and he would take me to different dimensions.
Yeah.
And show me things.
Yeah. We'll get into that. We'll get into that because you've got one of the drawings that I pulled from your experience with the temple being. So let's go through this. You're in Utah, and you've got some beautiful territory. You've done a lot of filming, a lot of traveling around, and you actually were going to go. You and I told you about the monolith, and you were heading out there, and you were going to go on the Tuesday, and the thing disappeared on the Sunday, right? You had figured out where it was. You're actually within an hour of this thing, and
I'm within about an hour.
Yeah, and I'd asked you to sit on top of it and take a photo and take a McDonald's coffee cup and film in front of it. But it's unfortunate you didn't get to go. But you're an investigator. You do almost like Stacy was talking about. You do the ghost research, the EVP stuff. You're into all sorts of mysteries that you're trying to figure out what's going on, right?
Anything paranormal, I'll look into it.
There you go. So you've drawn a lot of this looks like a lot of Utah territory. You've done a lot of the sketching of various forms around Utah. Is this done early on?
This is early. Yeah, this goes back probably to about 1990s, the late 90s, just before my father died.
Are you working in pencil or are you working in ink?
Pencils. This is in pencil.
Okay.
I love drawing ever since I was in kindergarten, all the way clear up through high school.
Yeah.
I always drew. I was always drawing on my homework. I was drawing in my books. I was getting in trouble.
Yeah, you were saying you were getting in trouble because you would sit there and draw instead of pay attention to the class.
Yeah, and I decided. Oh,
go ahead.
Yeah, this was my first one that I'd done after I started having these encounters with Elbi, because I would ask them when I would go to bed. I would ask to see where he was from. I wanted to, look at where he was from, what planet he was from, or wherever he was from. And then I started having these dreams of a landscape that kind of looked like this.
Okay.
And I would see these flying saucers, these spacecraft in these dreams. And it's your typical looking saucer with the dome type.
Yeah.
And I remember the last IUFOC conference I went to. It's where we all stayed at that same motel.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember it.
Yeah, that was in Phoenix you're talking about there?
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is the one at Fort McDowell.
Yeah.
And when I was going through Cameron, Arizona, I saw a craft just exactly like this.
Wow.
And it was off towards in the direction of the Hopi Indian Reservation.
Okay.
And I was driving along and I couldn't pull off the side of the road because I didn't want to get stuck in the sand. And I had traffic behind me and I was trying to get a picture of it with my camera, but I was afraid I was going to cause a car wreck. So I just, kept driving until I could find a place to pull over. Sure enough, this is so typical with everybody that has these experiences. As soon as you get the camera out and get it ready to take a picture, it disappears.
Wow. Okay, now we get to this here. Explain this.
Okay,
I've got the finished one. This is one where you were still working on it, and now I'll show you the finished. This is the finished one.
Well, kind of, sorta. It was. I was in a hurry when I did this one, and I could do a lot better than this, and I want to redo it.
Have you done multiple of these?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done a few different ones. I made the face look fatter. It seems like it seemed like the first one will always come out pretty good, and then you always try to overdo it. Blouses up. It just doesn't work.
And give me the representation. What does this represent?
Okay, in right after I done an interview with you where I flew the craft, where Elbi let me fly the craft,
Yeah, yeah.
and after that, he came to me in a dream. Elbi did.
Oh,
And as usual, it's face to face, just like this. And I don't have a drawing of Elbi yet. I'm still working on one.
so
But
describe him a little bit so that people have an idea of what he looks like.
okay, he's a humanoid type. He's, I'm gonna guess about between 5.5, 6 foot tall. And he's got a large cranium, but he doesn't have the slanted oval eyes. They're more off round. They're kind of like human eyes, but maybe about, 5, 6 times bigger.
Yeah.
Solid black. He has a small, petite chin, a real petite nose, almost non-existent, just a couple of holes where the nostrils would be. A very small mouth. Never talks. It's all done telepathically.
Yeah.
No ears, no hair.
What about clothes?
No clothes.
No clothes.
One
Okay.
time in one abduction I had, when I had the healing, he was wearing what looked like a head covering and like a bodysuit. And that's
Okay.
the only time I ever saw him wear anything.
Okay.
But right after this, I had a dream with him, and he got face to face with me, and he said, "You're having a difficult time seeing me in my original form." And he said, "From now on, when I come to you, it'll be in a dream, and I will come to you as a wolf." And I've had many dreams with a wolf like this, and still, it would always start out face-to-face contact, just like in the other abductions I've had with them.
Do you want to get into? No, sorry. Do you want to get into the part about the regression as to who he might be? And you don't know for sure, but
I'm not really sure. I can never get a real definite answer as to who he is or where he's from. But I've had a couple of shamans tell me that he's from Syriac, that he's a Syrian. But I don't know. I want to hear this from him myself.
but wasn't there a thing that he might actually be related to you?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Back in, it was right back around 1968, I think it was. I was still in high school, and I went out to my uncle's horse ranch in Riverside, California, to help him put a water line in. And I had this encounter with this tall being. It wasn't Elbi. It was a different type of being. He was probably close to 8 foot tall, a real skinny, almost a pointed chin, very anorexic looking, almost looked like a skin wrapped skeleton. And he would force me to have sex with this other being that was there, that was laying on a table. And right after this, I started having a series of recurring nightmares, recurring dreams. And in this dream, it was always, I would always meet this entity that it looked like Elbi, except for it looked like a much younger Elbi. And in one of my regressions I did with, it was Joy Johnson. I don't know if you know her or not.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Okay. She did a regression with me. And in this regression, it come out that Elbi was a product of me. that he was my son.
Yeah, that's fascinating. This one, let's tell this story, and then let's get to your cartoon type art. This is the story that I always liked, was this story where Elbi takes you into the spirit world,
right?
And you're with your mother. So describe what this is about here.
Okay. Before I get started, I want to say, you know, when I draw, I can't get the colors in there. And I really want to get into painting, oil painting. So it's like what Stacy was saying, that the colors are very, very important in these pictures. But anyways, I had this OBE one night, and Elbi was there to meet me after I left my body. And he took me to this higher plane. He told me it was the highest plane before you get to what we call heaven. And he took me there, and my mom was there. My mother was there. And he left us. He left, and it was just with me and my mom. And we're in this beautiful garden. It's just, I can't even describe to you the colors. It was just one of the most beautiful places that I've ever witnessed in my entire life. And off in the distance, there was a building. It wasn't a very big building. And I don't know if you're familiar with the LDS temples.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's one in Manti, Utah, and this building looked pretty similar to it, except for it was much smaller. It was about the size of a small house. And so me and my mom, we kind of glided along, and we got over to this little building that looked like a temple. And it had what looked like a set of double doors, and they just opened up on their own, and we went inside. And inside was this this room that just, it was like 30 times bigger than what the inside, or you know, than what the outside looked like. Much bigger on the inside. So I'm assuming it was a different dimension. I don't know.
We should maybe point out, I think I pointed out to you before that if you talk to Chris Bledsoe or Terry Lovelace, they will describe their abduction experience where they go into the UFO craft and it's 30 times the size inside as it is outside. So then you start questioning, well, is it a UFO? Is it the spirit world? It's the same principle, that it's way bigger, and that's not something you're going to make up. You can make up a story. You don't say something stupid like it's bigger on the inside than it's outside. But people do describe this in UFO abduction experiences. It's 10 or 20 or 30 times the size inside as it is outside. So go on.
Yeah, that's the way this building was. So anyway, the way I can describe it, it was, I don't know if you've ever been inside of an LDS temple before, but that's just exactly what it reminded me of.
Okay.
And it had this big, huge room that looked like it had 20, 25, 30 foot tall ceilings in it. And it had these pillars sticking up along the walls. And in between the pillars was these big paintings, these big murals.
Yeah.
And my mom was telling me that every person that dies has a room like this. And it was like a doorway opened up, a portal. Yep. And I could look inside there. I could see inside there. And my dad was in there, and it was a room just exactly like the one we were in.
Okay.
That portal closed up, another one opened up, and then my grandparents were in there.
Yeah.
And my mom told me that every person that dies has a room like this. And so we, okay, these big murals, paintings, they look like paintings. They were huge. They were in between these pillars on the wall, and the pictures on them were pictures of different times in my mom's life. And they were all the way around inside this room. And so on the other end, we kind of glided down to the other end, and there was a table there, and it had all these crystals, had different layers of different size crystals, kind of what it's depicted in this picture. And my mom told me that every person after they die has a crystal that has their entire life history on it from birth to death. And it said, every person you know, all your relatives, it's even, the pet animals you've had,
Yeah.
your dogs, your cats, or whatever.
Yeah.
At the time, I don't know why, but I thought of we had a Keeshond dog that just disappeared one day. And I was wondering about him. And this little crystal come off of the first layer and went up. And I got it depicted here, that little thing on the frame of the picture there. And the whole entire life of this dog we had from birth to death was it was envisioned in my mind, and it only took like a split second to see the whole life. And what was weird is you could see it, you could understand it.
Yeah.
And I always wondered what happened to the dog. And at the end, it showed the neighbor across the street had shot it with a shotgun and then took it out to the dump.
Fascinating.
And so anyways, then my mom wanted to show me, she says, everybody also that when they die, they have a special place that they can go to. She says, I want to show it to you, but she said, I'm not allowed. She said, you can't see it until it's your time to come, and it's not your time yet. And she said, you must go back. And I said, well, I don't want to go. I want to stay here. And she says, you have to go back. She says, it's not your time. Then everything turns a fuzzy white, and then I wake up on the couch.
Beautiful. Okay, let's go through your art stuff. So you do.
Oh, God. It's terrible.
Yeah, you're all perfectionists.
This one, back in, oh God, when was that? I think it was right about 1995. I went to work for a construction company in Price, Utah. And it just was one of those jobs that just nothing was working out. You couldn't get along with everybody. They were mad at you all the time. And so I told my boss, I says, I'm going to draw a cartoon about this company. And he told me, he said, well, that'd be kind of nice, it'd be kind of neat. So I did. And every one of my bosses and the owner is depicted here. And when I showed it, they didn't like it. They didn't appreciate it that much. And it's just, finally, I ended up quitting and going to work someplace else.
That's a good one. Okay, here you go. Now we're into.
Oh, yeah, this is when I started learning how to shade things.
Yeah.
And one I did of Pluto. And
What is it with the cartoon characters that you like?
I don't know. Ever since I can remember, me and this friend of mine, his name was Billy McMillan. We had encounters when we were in elementary school, both of us,
Yeah.
with a person that we call light bulb head.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's a whole different story right
Yeah.
there. But we would always, on Saturdays, we were always together. We would watch Saturday cartoons all day long. And we had this game we would play. We would stand out in front of the house and we would mimic different cartoon characters. And then we'd have to guess who they were. And it's just, I don't know what it is. It's even today, now, I love drawing them. I don't know why, but
You're getting back into it, right? You're going to do more art now.
I am. I want to get more into doing the UFO and my alien encounters and stuff like that. But this was a kind of like a pre. I don't know how you describe it. Getting me started into it was with the cartoon characters. But
How long is it? How long is it?
Even when I would go to church, when I was regularly going to church, during sacrament meeting, I'd sit there and draw these cartoon characters and shade them like this. All the kids wanted to sit by me, behind me, by me, around me. And then when I get done, I'd give them to them. And it's just, I love doing it. It was just, and this one, I tell people that there's always somebody watching you when you have ET experiences.
Yeah.
You're always being watched. Observed. Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. And so I drew this plant that had an eye in it. And everybody keeps saying, well, that's Big Brother watching you, government. And I said, well, it's more than that. It's the ETs. If you're having experience like me, you don't know where they are, but they're always watching you. They always observe you. They know what you're doing. And that's what this represents to me. But like I say, I wish I want to get into painting because the colors are so important.
Yeah.
And when you draw, everything is colorless.
Did you photograph this?
No. I think that was a friend of mine on Facebook.
Okay. I just pulled this off your site. And this here we get the orbs. Is this yours or whose is this?
Yes, this is one of mine.
Wow.
I love to do is I like to go out and I like to go hike up roads like 1, 2 a.m. in the morning by myself, take pictures. And I get these orb pictures like this. And you know, when that first orb panel that I was on, I told you I didn't have very many orb photos. But I've been going through my archive. You'd be surprised how many I got.
Yeah, everybody's done that. Yeah. Yeah, I know one woman went through her mother's collection of photographs and started finding them. It's becoming raised consciousness. Stacy will be very excited about this because this almost looks like her type of thing with the color and. Beautiful.
It is. Yeah, the colors are so important. And you know, when she was talking about the red orb.
Yeah.
I had one experience with a red orb. One night I was laying on the floor in the living room and I put on a Franz Liszt tape.
Yeah.
And when I meditate, that's what I listen to. His Hungarian Rhapsody #2.
Yeah.
And this big red orb, the thing had to have been 2 feet in diameter.
Wow.
Appeared right over my chest and was there for about maybe 4 or 5 seconds and then it disappeared. That's the only experience I've ever had with a red orb.
Wow. Wow. And this is off your Facebook. I pulled this because we're doing orbs. This is not yours either, but what is this?
No, this isn't mine. This is a friend of mine on Facebook.
Yeah,
Carol.
this is the same sort of thing where you get the mist start to appear. You got the orbs, and then you get the mist.
Yeah, she sends me this stuff all the time.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then this one here you painted. This is your getting into color and stuff.
This is my first attempt at painting with oil. And this was back, I think, God, this had to have been back around 1985, 1986, around there. And it's 3 quaking aspen trees. But like I say, I know it's not that good of a painting, but the colors are so important.
Yeah. Just
like, Stacy was saying. Oh.
Is that Quick Draw McGraw?
I always wanted to be an animator. That was my lifelong ambition. My dad said otherwise. You're not going to be an animator. My dad worked for Rockwell International, and he's actually done work on the Apollo space capsule.
Wow.
And he says, you're going to go into that line of work or mechanics, something like that. I told him I don't want to be. I want to be an animator.
You could be an animator now.
Yeah. Oh God, this is a terrible one. This is one of the first ones I ever did.
I like it. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's the thing you're working on. You said you had a whole box full of these. You recovered these. Now you're discovering these.
Yeah, I've got notebooks just full of this stuff. As you can tell, I'm also a Dr. Seuss fan. Oh, this is one I never finished. This is one of my first ones that go back into the 1980s. It's terrible. I feel embarrassed you showing me.
Oh no, to me this is good. I mean, it's you can see the fact that it takes you some work to do. That you can see how it forms.
Yeah, this is one that I did. I'd have these dreams of these, I don't know, they were dragon-like creatures. But they were, they weren't mean. They were real nice. And that's when I started doing these type of characters like this. And I always called them long snouts.
This one here, right? This is the guy.
Yeah, right? Yeah, like this one. And I love drawing this guy, but I've never put any arms on him. I should have put arms on him. I don't know how they do anything without arms. But oh gosh, yeah, this is my.
Is this finished? Is this one that's finished off?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not exactly finished with it, but it's it's one that I did probably 15 years ago.
Wow. I guess if you're a perfectionist, it's never finished. You always sort of see the flaws in it.
Yeah. Well, one thing with animation, I had a cousin that worked for Walt Disney. He was an animator. Yeah. And I always wanted his job.
No kidding.
But I had that accident, and it just blew my whole chances right out of the water. And this is one I did. I went to art school, and I was going for 2 years. I paid my tuition for it. And right after about the first year is when I had that industrial accident, and I had to drop out, and they wouldn't let me continue without repaying my tuition over again.
Yeah.
And this is one I did. We had to do a caricature of a policeman, and they wanted it in kind of human form.
Yeah.
One of my teachers, the one that would do the grading on my stuff, was Charles Schultz.
Yeah.
Peanuts.
Yeah. Wow.
And he would always tell me, you know, I love people that go against the grain, that go against the wind. And so I said, the heck with it, I'm drawing what I want. So I drew a hyena as a policeman. And man, they didn't like that. They asked for a caricature of a human. And he put on there, he says, what does a bear? A bear has absolutely nothing to do with being a police officer. I'm thinking, that's totally bogus. And I said, they even got the character wrong. But I did get an A+ on that.
Wow.
And this is the first one I done using ink with a pen and quill.
Yeah.
And that is meticulous. I love doing ink with ink. But one thing, if you mess up, you got to start over again because there's no way you can erase it.
Yeah. Who is this guy? His name is escaping me.
Oh, it's W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields, yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Wow, that's beautiful.
And this was actually one of my assignments when I was in art school for the year, for the 1 year. And this was another assignment I did. This is terrible. I really goofed up on the one ear. But I like doing it. I want to get away from the cartoon characters and start doing live animals.
This is my favorite.
I love this. I've done 5 of these. I had a girlfriend years ago that her father worked at the oil refinery in Sinclair, Wyoming. And I gave him my very first picture I did of this. And I had the back view of a cat standing at a podium and all the mice down below looking at him. And from what I understand, it's still hanging on the wall in the reception room at the refinery there in Sinclair.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of neat. That
that's a lot of work. How long would that take to do?
That one took me about a month. And then after a while, you know, you get kind of rum-dummy doing those eyes and the mouth and doing an expression. And then you start hurrying. And that's one thing you don't want to do when you're drawing. You don't want to get into a big hurry.
Yeah.
It just louses things up. And this was an assignment when I was in art school. My first attempt at drawing a human.
Human, yeah. We got Marie going to be drawing some humans here in a second.
And another cartoon character. I had to have him sitting on a chair.
Yeah.
And this is, I think her name's Cleo from the Big Red Dog.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got to be careful doing these characters like that because I'm sure there's a copyright problem. But.
Well, no, I thanks a lot, Ron, for that. And when you get the Elbi, make sure you let me have the copy of the Elbi painting or the drawing.
Like
Beautiful.
Between the book and drawing, I don't have time to do anything else.
Well, we'll help you with the book whenever you get going there. And I appreciate your sharing your story again. And we'll put the link to your Facebook. Is that where you don't have a website? You just have the Facebook, right?
Just Facebook. Yeah.
Okay. We'll link that up. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Now we move
thank
to
you.
Marie Cisneros. Are you there?
I am here.
There we go. Now we're gonna get into the real art here. Okay, let's give me a little bit of background on your story in terms of UFOs. Like, you were a field investigator, and you told me you had some bizarre sort of experiences in life.
Yeah, I guess pretty much all my life. And one of the first things that I remember, living in the backwoods of Laredo, Texas.
Okay.
Ironically, we lived in a barrio called Ghost Town. But it was, I remember being in a bedroom with my parents. I slept with them and looking up towards the door, and there's a figure standing in the door. This happened on more than one occasion, and there's a bright light behind them, but all I could see is a silhouette. And he's really tall, but you know, being a kid, the only thing that I could do to protect myself is to cover up with a blanket and not see it.
Yeah.
And another time living down there, I believe that it was a memory, but it seems to come more as a dream. And that we're hiding underneath the window because there's a bright light outside.
Yeah.
And I think I remember that we saw something out there, you know, like an object. The first, you know, really conscious sighting of a UFO was when I was around 10. And we used to have a power plant in the town that I live in now, Muskegon, Michigan. And so we look up, it's late at night, and I look up and I see this lighted object over the power plant. And I could distinctly see that there was windows in it. So at my age, I felt certain that there was something there. There were these, you know, people in my eyes. So I'm watching it, trying to get my mom and my brother and my sisters to look at it. And they didn't look at it. And so we're watching it, and I'm trying to communicate with it. So I was certain there was someone in there.
Okay.
So it followed us actually to where we lived, and we lived above an apartment, my grandmother's. And by the time we got there, it had changed shape into a rectangular shape with lights all around it. And at about that time, I still couldn't get them to notice it, you know, my mom. But no one said anything. We all just went up, and no one ever said a word about it. So
That's pretty common, yeah.
yeah. So a lot of what my experiences seem to come in dream states, but they are not what I would call dreams,
Yeah.
because they have more of a reality to them. When I was around 14, I remember having a dream where the only thing that I saw were geometric shapes. You know, they're just like in front of me. And I remember thinking, how do you dream something that there's no people, there's no perception in it, other than you're seeing these objects, geometric shapes in them. It's like I never figured that one out. So there's a lot of times that are like lucid dreaming, where I see that look like, you know, the lines of matrices where they look like hieroglyphics, just going very, very quickly, you know, past your eyes. And whether they're really hieroglyphics or not, I really don't know.
So you get to see the language figures.
Yeah.
Have you drawn those? And compared them to others?
I have a few. I've had some dreams where the one dream was a dream that I was told that these were our UFOs, and these were the ones that were like, you know, the ones that are people or whatever that were out to harm us. And I do have drawings of that. I've chronicled my dreams since the early 1990s.
Wow.
Some of them are more like experiencer dreams to things that have happened to me, you know, and my family members. And if I could read the one, I mean, I don't like to read too much.
Sure.
It get a little boring. But one of the earliest ones, because I have small drawings along with them, but it's from November 16th, 1995. So this part was conscious that I'm looking out the window, and this is the house that I live in now.
Yeah.
And I see what are lightning bolts that are coming down, almost like in a triangular shape. It seems to be a storm, but they're clouds, but the light streaks are going down from the window. So as I'm looking out and I see a being out there that is walking towards the house, and he is with another man. And I do that, remember the man, what I remember very clearly are his eyes. It's just looking in his eyes, and he's smiling at me. But the next thing I know consciously is that there is a being standing behind me with his hand on my shoulder. And I'm 5 foot, I'm 4'11", so he's a little bit shorter than me. So then I turn back and look out the window. So I believe they're probably in my house. So I remember them performing some sort of experiment on me. And so then the beings are studying I was told that they were taking some sort of essence from me. And I remember, and I have a drawing, I'm very small, it's a very, very tiny rectangular shape with it almost looks like an arrow type thing that comes out and it's moving back and forth. So whatever it was, the essence was taking to me, and then they put it in a bowl and handed it to one of the creatures, which were 3 of them. So after that, I don't know too much about, remember what happened. So,
Wow.
So, going back to when I was younger, from the time I was 10, I had, it was like a lump, started in the side of the goom. And I tried to tell my mom about it. And of course, back then we didn't really go to the doctor much, so it really wasn't unusual. But it was there until I was about 26 years old. Never had it evaluated because I never went to a dentist until I was later on. And so it started to bother me, and all of a sudden something came out of there, and I held it in my hand, and it was a tiny rectangular square.
Wow.
And what in the world is this, you know? And as I looked at it and I rubbed it with my finger, it disintegrated.
Wow.
So, and around the same age, I think around 10, I found a scoop mark on my forehead that I could never figure out, like, where did I get this from? And I'm looking in the mirror, like, how did I get this? So, I have some of the things that I guess based on the criteria would be called implants.
Yeah.
One was, I'd had it for about 6 months, and knowing about it because I've been in the UFO field for a long time. Yeah. And I said, I want to have that removed. I want to know what it is because it just appeared there. And June 6th, I had an extremely horrific dream that was not like a dream, but it was so bizarre that I felt like I never wanted to go to sleep again.
Wow.
So I didn't unless I had the TV on, and that lasted for about 3 days. And I think I was told that I had PTSD. So I said, well, would you get PTSD from a dream? Because that's how bizarre it was. So shortly after that, the lump that I had in the back of my arm was gone, but it was replaced by a triangular shaped scar.
There you go.
Yeah, it has kind of like rounded out, so you really couldn't tell. So it'd be like my word against anyone else's that it was triangular shape. So that's pretty much, a lot of it. It's just, I've had so many of them through the years that I have chronicled, 20 years of these dream states, and maybe are in dreams of seeing children, like little children, whether they're my children or not, I don't really know, but
are you journaling all this? Are you? Because I've never heard your story. You almost have a story that you could almost like give a lecture on, or a book on your. You seem to have chronicled quite a bit of what's going on, and it's classic UFO type stuff. Do you think you're on a mission, or?
I have felt I've been on a mission because from a very early age, age 13, I have always studied the paranormal. Started out with ghosts, and witches and things like that, but I got more, as I got older, into more, metaphysics and, ufology. And I think Jacques Vallée, I probably read his book, Passport to Begonia, when I was 13, 14 years old.
Wow.
But it always has been a mission to know, who we are as a species, where we fit in the universe.
Wow.
So,
fascinating story. I'd never heard your story before. I will have to maybe do a lecture just on your story.
oh, well, that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go through your art here. You had your blog thing you don't really have up anymore. You had a blog. What do you have now? Do you have a website or just your Facebook, or where are you operating out of?
Well, I show some of the stuff on Facebook because I've drawn my whole life. So sometimes they're the just drawings or the paintings that I've done. But I started a DBA in my as a research, but mostly it's just my blog, just called Cygnus Research. And I'm trying to get that up there because I'm into so many things. Like I got started doing a paranormal show here locally, and now I do the astrology segment for them. So,
wow. Make sure you provide me your link so we can link it.
Oh yeah,
So,
sure, I'll do that.
Wow, fascinating. This is kind of like Ron's thing. This is very elaborate. So describe what this is all about.
That I called Awakening Spring, my own title, but it is based on an early Art Nouveau print. I can't think of the title of it, but it was from a book. And I liked it so much that I wanted to try to do that. But that's ink, permanent ink on canvas. Wow. So I did have that in a gallery show, art show.
Have you had art gallery shows with your stuff?
Yeah, I have.
Wow.
With this one and a couple of the other ones.
We can't see it, I don't think. Your art, we can't see the piece you're looking at.
Oh.
Can you see it, Marie?
Yes.
Anybody else can't see it?
I can see it on this end.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Something's wrong.
Okay.
Oh, that's too bad.
Oh, now I see it. Now it's
okay,
just
now. There you go.
Sorry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so this one didn't really it didn't come out, but it's sort of like the one Ron had with the mice. But when I put it out, it sort of became blurry. But it's all these faces, and what's this about?
I think that's part of the same artwork, just more close up.
Okay. This here?
That's something I thought up. I started out drawing it in church.
You're a church drawer too?
I am a church drawer. I'm a church drawer, and I did just send you that. I draw in church, or like Ron was talking about drawing in class. I always drew in class, but that's kind of just on some metaphysical thought, I guess. With
Marie?
Yes.
Recently, in my own personal research, there have been a lot of experiences that have described entities with snake bodies, snake heads, torsos, human torsos, or a mix. I'm curious, the snake here, I mean, I think you just kind of spoke to this, but could you maybe tell us what your thought was with respect to the organization of the various things here in the snake?
I think the snake was just a lot of the mythology that the snake brought wisdom, and I think I don't know if you can tell down below. It's the world egg that has the jewels. Down below it's kind of dark, but
I see. Sure.
The tree is just connection between the earth and the sky, and the swans are actually based on my last name, which is from Cygnus, or means from the place of swans. So swans has always been really big with me just because of the name. But so the puzzle is just the enigma of the pyramid, and you can see in the background also, of course, a rainbow, and the eyes in the background. So.
Have you got these for sale, or is this one you sold, or what's the status on on how your paintings? Have you got them all, or you sold a lot of them?
I haven't sold, yeah, I've sold some. I've sold the prints from the black and white Awakening Spring. And I have, I auction off a lot of them through just, like my church. They would have silent auctions, or
Okay.
as in charity groups, I usually will give them to that so they can auction them off.
This one I think I blew up too much. It's sort of out of focus. This one here?
Yeah, that's a study from a book. I think it's just called French Village. I did sell that one.
And turtles. Now we've got come up against turtles. We keep running this pattern where a lot of experiencers seem to paint turtles. So why turtles for you?
Well, not too far from where I live, there's a park called McGrath Park, and there's a stream that runs through it. And the turtles would always set on this particular log.
Oh, okay.
Walk. So yeah, they were always on this one log, and I took a photograph of it, and like I really liked the turtles, so I thought I'd try, painting them. That's an acrylic. And that's actually my granddaughter, and her name is Raven. And she's a duck.
Wow. This one, I just had my assistant Sinead Wellahan just did an interview. Did a woman by the name of Alma, who's a sort of a spirit, not a spirit painter, but her hand just moved. She did 5,000 paintings in Canada. They're at York University, and she believed that she was the reincarnation of Joan of Arc. And then I see you've got Joan of Arc here, and I'm going like, this is you can't make this stuff up. So, well, why did you do Joan of Arc?
Well, I just like the image of the strong woman and somebody that, led the armies to what she believed in. So.
Wow, that's beautiful. This is the flowers. And this one here, this is, who's this good looking chick here?
Oh, that was me when I was 18. So
that's a self-portrait, right?
It is a self-portrait, but the significance of it for me is the fact that it took me so long to paint it. And when I did, I started painting it when I was 18, didn't finish it to 2005. So to me, that was something big that I actually finished something,
Wow.
as a painting. So.
Wow. This one here?
That's called blue and copper, or Thoughts of Freedom in Blue and Copper, and that was in a regional art show in 2015. So it's photography and jewelry findings, which I use in a lot of that type of mixed media work, is things I find or pieces of broken jewelry, and around the side is a painting that I just I cut up in squares and reorganize it to something different.
Do you do art all day long? Is that your profession, or is it a sideline?
Right now, I think it's a sideline because I had a story to come to me one day, a storyline, a synopsis, I guess, and I felt compelled to write it. That's been like 5 years ago, and I just kind of finished that. So I will like to try to get more into art.
Wow, you've got quite the story.
Yeah, that is a pencil drawing of my granddaughter.
Wow.
She says, "Draw me, Grandma, draw me." So that's Raven again. It's another one. Draw me as I'm laying here on the couch.
Wow. So how long would this take you?
About an hour.
Wow.
I think that was an early commissioned work for an instructor.
Wow. Beautiful. What is this? This has got a lot of color like Stacy's.
Well, it's the thought behind it started out as a dream that I had called based on the many-eyed ones. So I saw beings with all these eyes, But when I ended up putting it on there, I just turned it more into jewels. So that's kind of like a first attempt, I think, at anything sort of abstract. So I don't know if it was a success or not, but it's colorful.
It's beautiful. This has almost the psychedelic colors. Have you done psychedelics? Because you seem to have the psychedelics colors here.
No, I haven't, but back in the early 70s, I used to like to draw, like, the pop art with the bright neon colors.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, beautiful. So this is an early piece, or this is you just recently?
Probably about 5 years ago. It's just,
Okay.
probably marker on paper.
Again, you got the color here.
That's kind of another way we talked about stream of consciousness type painting. Is I just start out, drawing the lines and see wherever they go. But I do notice that in several of my those type of works that I have this lady that's usually in the, in the drawing somewhere. So she must
Do
be.
you talked about stream of consciousness. Do you do that kind of stuff where it just comes on the canvas and you're not really a part of it?
Yeah, I do that type too. Just, I guess when I'm not thinking or having something planned, like,
Yeah.
doing, a painting of a family member or things like that.
Wow.
Like that one, that started out to be that, and then it ended up being, I don't know if she's a nun but I ended up calling it Going to Mass. I did, I think that one was auctioned off at the Women's Progressive dinner here a few years ago.
Wow.
Those are what I did in church one day. So I thought I'll send it. But I tend to draw a lot of the geometric shapes. A theme with me has always been the diamonds, diagonal diamonds, or stars, or just doodles, basically.
And I see you got the triangles as well.
Triangles and the Pentagon shapes.
Do you follow the idea that there are sacred shapes and stuff like that in the universe?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The building blocks of the universe are shapes.
Wow. Yeah, the triangle seems to be the big one. We even did a couple of, Nicole and I did a bunch of panels on triangles. And well, Chase has the triangle sighting. We went through all the people who've had triangle sightings. It's kind of weird.
That was just, I want to see what comes up on that. I think I ended up titling that Ravens on the Storm, or Riding on the Storm, something like that.
Wow. I'm just waiting for the orb to pop out of it. It's sort of like, looks like Stacy's minus the orb coming out. Fascinating. Oh, here we go. Now this is the Poke the Bear here.
Yeah,
this is,
show those.
you've done the nudes. And so let me ask you, I talked to Ron, I gave him the question, did the aliens have any clothes? And one of the key things I always ask experiencers, and they almost always say, no, come to think of it, didn't have any clothes. So, we sort of see this as, but it seems to be part of the UFO lore that they're the bodies. How long would it have taken this? And what was this all about? What's the story on this?
That's a study. She's not a live model, but it's a study from a book. Yeah, I titled it Isis Unveiled. So,
Okay.
That it's acrylic. I did recently give that away to my artist friend who actually painted me.
I thought, yeah, that's funny, Marie. I thought this was a self-portrait, and I'm trying to figure out how did she do this? How did you do a self-portrait like this? So okay, that's
There you go. And you don't want to buy this one, Chase. You put this on your wall here, you'll have some oneness trouble in your house.
I need, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it probably would be really great to have more portraits like this in here. Yeah.
There you go. And then for Nicole, are you there, Nicole?
I'm here.
The last one she's got for you. So you're talking about what's it? Do you use the people's bodies? What do you call them? Meat sacks.
The
Meat
model.
sacks. So what do you think of this?
Oh.
Do you need Marie to give me your phone number, or you can go sky watching with this guy?
That reminds me of my ex-boyfriend from high school.
Oh, okay.
How about that?
Okay. There you go. And so this is what, a couple of days of work.
Oh, probably a week, I think. Yeah,
Wow.
planning them out.
Is
And they
this,
got
is,
obelisk down there.
Mhm.
yeah, I was gonna say, what is he looking at? Is he meditating or is he just really vain? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Right.
I call it in quiet contemplation. So
Okay, that's better.
Wow.
Okay.
And that's
And
the go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask if this was a live subject or if that was also like a study, Marie.
that's a study. It would have been nice, but no.
Well, that's fantastic. So let's wrap it up in terms of people's comments as to this connection between, I think it's the right brain thing that artists are very right brain, so are musicians, and you'll see a lot of musicians are experiencers, and that may be why you're picking up on the UFO thing, because you're very sort of right brain people rather than rational analytical with the ego in the way and stuff like that. So maybe everybody can sum up what they think about art and music. And Marie, if you down the road, if you ever get the art, we want to do a show with your UFO stuff that details some of the sketches you did in your book. I would love to do that, because
That would be great.
beautiful. So Chase, you can start, maybe wrap up what you think.
Yeah, absolutely, Grant. You know, I always love everyone's work. Everybody has, you know, really just their personality is reflected in their artwork. And I like the fact that Stacy, you know, you too, I'm sure there are a few of us out there that like to collect experiencer art. I have a couple I want to show you guys. Well, I've got you. My collection's not that big, but I received this from a woman in Oregon. This is an experience that she has, and I have a letter, and all of the experiencers that I buy from, I ask them to include. And I also have this one, Stacy. I think you'll like this a lot. Right here,
yeah.
It's an experiencer in Sweden,
Nice.
and then there are just a few others. I haven't
Well,
purchased as many.
let's see the one. Show the one you did, and show the one your girlfriend did.
Sure. So this is my girlfriend. This is an experience she had driving down the highway. I live near Houston, Texas. So this was in between Houston and the kind of metro area that we live in. A craft was right in front of her, went over, completely disappeared. She had a phone call. There was some form of communication. And then I'm no real artist, but this is one little painting of the triangle that I saw. And then I have a one that I haven't finished yet right here, which is me ripping off somebody else's method on Etsy and just painting it myself instead of spending $500 on painting. So, but it's just here, so I'm not selling it. So, and then this is the only print that I have, and that's David Huggins. I think Grant, we were going to try to get him. I'm not sure if we've got been able to contact him, but he's got some really interesting experiences. Ron, really similar to what you've described. You know, you mentioned a portal opening up, and you've got incredible experiences that you mentioned in this panel. I would really, before you hopped on, Ron, Grant mentioned maybe I could reach out to you separately, and maybe we could interview you, Jeff and I, on the podcast. That would be great. I'd love to hear more about your experiences. You know, I think just like everybody else here, we've all had experiences, and we're some of us maybe know more than others, or, you know, I think we always have questions, and maybe we don't have questions when we're on the other side, but you know, I'd like to I'd like to learn as much as I can and have more experiences. So yeah, Marie, you've got wonderful work, brilliant work. You're a phenomenal artist. All of you are, but one other thing that Grant mentioned, I think Nicole is going to put together something on Facebook for everyone so we can list all the links. Grant and I, Nicole, haven't had a long conversation about this recently, but I have a web page I'm developing for Grant. I'm not going to charge you for it, Grant, but I'm just putting together everyone's artwork, their links, kind of a preview of everyone's stuff and categorizing it, because there doesn't seem to be any resource out there for experience or art. If I'm wrong, if any of you know of something like that, please let me know. But that's been a big challenge. I join all these Facebook groups, and then somebody says, I had this experience and here's my painting. And then I jump on it and I go, how much you want? Will you sell it to me? And one of two things happen. Either they get really pissed off and they say, you don't believe in the phenomenon, and then I made this for me, and not giving it to anybody, and go, whoa, all right. Or they're happy to sell it. So so it's really difficult to find that. So hopefully Grant can put that on his website, or it can be a separate website, and people have that resource. So
well, I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate it, because have to make a living, and they usually don't make a very good living. And I think this is going to be very important art down the road, when people suddenly realize what's going on here. That these people are the people that are. That's why I always say this thing about the on a mission. That these people, it's almost like these people are chosen. They're in a field. They're pulling stuff down. They're putting it on canvas. And I think we have to sort of recognize that. And maybe this is raising consciousness that this stuff is actually going on. I didn't even realize that you show these various photographs. Or these paintings. I didn't know about these people. They seem to be all over the place, and it's a matter of gathering them together and putting them all, even if they can talk to each other, where they feel that they're not the crazy person out on the limb, that they realize there's a lot of people. And you know that when we posted on Facebook, we just got hammered. I mean, there was all sorts of people contacting us. This is a big topic.
It's unreal. And Grant, I mentioned this to you before in a message, right before I had my first human initiated contact event, which was, I was in the kitchen, and I was compelled to go outside, and lights in the sky showed up. Just a cliff notes for everyone that hasn't heard it. After that, I had a communication event. Music came on that was a message for me. As wild as that, I guess that doesn't sound wild amongst friends here, but in a group of people that don't normally talk about this, they go, "Who the hell is this guy?" But it was a song that I wasn't familiar with, and I'd spoken to an experiencer in Florida. No, I'm sorry, he's in the Northeast. He worked for Office of Naval Intelligence as an officer there, and he said that they communicated through music. And I said, well, all right, well, I'll ask him to give me a message right now. And I did, and they gave me a message. And the song is called Aerials by a band called System of a Down, which is all about consciousness and the other side. I mean, the whole song, that's all it's about. So I've been obsessed with this song now it's been almost 3 years since that event. And I recently found out that the singer and songwriter also paints, Grant, and he has paintings that are really similar to what Stacy showed us with the orbs. So a lot of the stuff that Marie and Ron showed us. So I don't know if he realizes that it's connected, but I'd love to get him on too for us, because same thing. Orbs sings about consciousness, we're all one, and non-separation and all of this stuff. So it's just,
Wow. Fascinating. You said this guy from Naval Intelligence told you this. Where did he get this? Do you think he had inside knowledge? Because you know that I got the message from Chris Bledsoe, where he phones me up in 2014 and said, I got a message from the Guardians, were the beings that he dealt with. And they want you to know the messages in the music. And that's when I said, well, I don't listen to music. I don't play music. I couldn't care less about music. And I ended up writing a book. But that was the same message that I got from them, is this idea that they're putting the messages through art. They're putting the messages through music. and it's the right brain creative people that are able to tap into the field and bring this stuff down.
Yeah, I think the guy at O&I, his first name's Matt or Matthew. I haven't spoken to him in a long time. I actually don't really know what happened to him, but he and I would speak pretty regularly there for we're about a year, you know, once, twice a month. I have a book in draft that he wrote. It's all about awakening, the process of awakening, and he claimed to have had contact experiences, abduction experiences. He told a story about these Teletubby kind of like aliens that woke him up, and he went onto their ship, and they're all sitting around this table, and he's smiling, or they say something and he laughs, and they go, "Why are you baring your teeth?" And he says, "Oh, well, this is smiling. It's how we show you're happy." And so these other two aliens try to bare their teeth, smile, and they can't do it, and they all get a big kick out of it. So I thought that was really interesting story. I don't know if it's true or not, but he really interesting guy. I was surprised every day with this stuff. It's really,
Beautiful.
Yeah. I think it's all about non-local, non-separation. You said something just now, Grant, and the idea that there is no separation, that there is no really time and space. Time and space are derivatives of consciousness, and we have this physiological filter where we perceive distance, we perceive separation, but maybe that's why music and art do resonate with so many people. Maybe it's not that there's I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I'm just guessing.
That's great. Beautiful. Thanks. Anybody else want to chime in here?
Well, Grant, I was just going to say here again today, sitting through some of these interviews and listening to everybody speak about their process, I think it is something just as simple, like we've seen with Ron and Stacy and Marie today, you being artists and being able to tap into this creativity, you also have the ability to reach many people. And when people see your artwork and they become inspired, whether it's based off a direct experience or just something that inspired you all, it does have this blast radius effect. And I think that's part of the oneness that's bringing us all together. I think it shows in your work and how it affects others. So thank you all for coming here today and sharing your process and your art with us today. It was wonderful.
Beautiful. And you're going to put it on your YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel?
It's just my name, Nicole Sackage, and you can check out this panel. And we also have another one that's going up, and our first two with Peter Robbins and Doug Ald have been up for about a week now. So
okay, and you premiere this, so it's going to be on my YouTube channel, but I'll let you put it on yours first. So it'll be on yours, Nicole Sackage, and you premiere the thing. So maybe we'll give you the email addresses of all the people that are involved today, and you can contact them when it's going live. So you premiere it so it comes up, and then you can actually go on when it's being when this broadcast is being done, and you can sit in the chat room and talk to the people who are actually watching. And we've had like 100 people in the room at one time, so it gets pretty popular. So we'll give you the emails and you can put it up. Good.
I'll send it to everybody, of course.
Okay.
All right.
Any other comments? Thank you, everybody, for what you're doing and for being open enough to share it. It's a tough thing to step forward and tell your story. I know that, and hopefully this has provided you some support that there are other people doing exactly what you're doing. And when you see some of the other ones we've got a whole list of people. It's going to be a huge collection, and you're going to realize you aren't alone.
Did I hear you say you're going to put the link up?
It will be linked. Because what happens is Nicole will premiere it, so it plays at a certain time. So she's going to send you the link when it premieres. So there's the panel 1 will be going up probably the next day or two. So maybe say by next week, Nicole will have up number 2, and it may come up like Monday night at 8 o'clock. So if you want, you can actually go onto Nicole's site, YouTube site, and you can go into the chat room and you can you can hear what people are saying as they're watching the broadcast, and there's a bunch of people chatting in there, and that's the way we usually do it. And then it'll be on my YouTube site, but that'll be a little bit later.
Could I add a little message I always get pretty much when I paint?
Yeah.
Share with you is it's just the one thing that I always hear is to look at the world with a sense of wonderment and excitement, to not suppress your joy and lift others up. And I just want to share that for other people that might watch this.
Wow. Maybe we'll put that on top of the Facebook page.
Beautiful
Thank you
message.
so
That's a
much
pretty good
for
quote.
including
Thank you,
me.
Stacy.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. And this is actually the first time I ever really talked about it, other than a few family members that know. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it. We'd like to do an interview maybe of your UFO stuff, because you have it's almost like Ron. Like Ron wasn't really public. You sat in the background for many years as well, right? And really didn't say anything. So then Ron, once we did a couple of interviews, suddenly he became very popular and got swamped in Facebook, and so it helps to get your message out that you feel better. It's almost like going to a therapist and sort of getting it out, and you realize, but you got a good story, so I'd like to get it down sometime and talk to you about it. Ron, you got anything to say as we leave?
I'd say here recently you kind of lit a fire under me and got me going again. Especially after I write this book. And this art thing is really, things can take off this time for me, but I think the cartoon stuff and the animation that I've been doing has been kind of like the beginning. And I think now I more want to get into consciousness stuff, experience stuff. And I want to get into more than just the drawing. Just like Stacy was saying with the colors, that has so much to do with it.
Yeah.
And it's like I can only portray half of what I'm trying to portray with just the drawing. I want to get into the not so much the watercolors, but the oil paints.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you very much, and we'll link you up with Chase, because he has a podcast and they want to get your story. And it's Chase. Ron may actually be able to go 4 hours. I mean, he's got a pretty long story, if you know it.
Ron, I would love to have you. Absolutely. I'll get your email or your contact information from Grant, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And Jeff and I reach out, and yeah, I would love to hear everything you have to say.
Long story, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it is.
That's okay. That's
Okay.
all right.
Thank you, everybody, for showing up, and we'll let you know when it premieres. And if there's any more paintings and drawings, keep me informed, and we'll get you on the Facebook page and on the website.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Beautiful.
you.
Thanks, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You
Bye.
too.